Yeah, the ritual is really, really important. And, you know, it's one of the things that can protect us. Um, because your ritual kind of becomes your protection.
Right,
You know what I mean? Your discipline to keep the ritual, that ends up becoming your protection. And then
right,
also
right,
your guide. Um, because it compounds over time. It gets stronger and stronger. And quite frankly, people will fall off. People will fall out of your life. But
right,
then new people will come into your life though. And those new people are going to be feeding you toward what you're becoming consciously aware of. That's what that whole thing in the Bible. And I use the Bible a lot because I know it better, but I will also use the five baskets of Buddhism and the Gita and African traditionalism, all of that.
right, right. Which I love. I love that. I love that you have all these stories and these fables because they're helpful.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we talked about in my own way, Moses in the desert. But when he
Right,
came to the bush and basically it was God saying, "Tell Pharaoh, I am that I am," and then eventually said, "I am is my name forever." The I amness in us is consciousness.
right,
But whatever you're consciously aware of, that's what you're drawing into your life.
right,
Whatever you're consciously aware of. So, what the ritual does for us, it keeps us in a state of being consciously aware of the things we want to do and have.
right,
Whenever we are not doing the ritual, what happens to us, what's happened to me last night, is where, in a sense, you kind of turn the direction toward the noise. And now you're trying to play and navigate in this noise of voices and thoughts
yes,
and what other people are achieving and what other people are doing. And now your mind is trying to figure out, well, how do I continue to stay up on everything and be around everybody and, get admiration from people that are doing all these things here when really my focus should be here,
right,
you know, in a house. If you see a mouse in your house, well, you should just know ain't no such thing as a mouse.
right. It's mice. Right,
House.
right.
So there's mice in the kitchen, and all the mice they see the cheese, and they're all fighting over the cheese. But there's this one mouse as he's jumping up to try to get over to see the cheese. He jumps up and he begins to see the rest of the house.
Right,
So that mouse is not going to be with that crowd, and that mouse is going to get away and try to figure out how to take advantage of the rest of the house.
right. I'm free. Oh, wait. You guys focus on that cheese.
Yeah.
Right,
You got this whole house as a mouse to explore. Nobody else is there because it's your destiny. Nobody else can be there but you.
right, right,
So it's the rituals are good. Um, and so part of what you're wanting to do for yourself is continue to feed yourself the content that's going to give you the energy to do the ritual or do whatever you need to do to keep yourself in the right state of mind.
right. As opposed to like, I think that like, last year, I just felt like, life 2023 felt like I was just an actor in everybody else's play. I didn't make any plans. Everybody told me where I was supposed to be. I went where you told me I should be. I didn't make not one plan. I didn't do any like nothing about that year was mine. It was
Mm,
all about and I felt by December I just felt so crazy because I'm
yeah.
like, I gave my whole year to, and then time doesn't exist, but you realize that I didn't do one ritual. I did nothing for myself, and I was exhausted, right? And I just felt like I just didn't control my time. I didn't control my life, right?
Yeah.
And I just was like the breeze comes and right, so I'm going this way, I'm going that way. I just felt like so out of control. And so I really wanted to make a decision this year to be more conscious, um, and more intentional about growth, more intentional about really everything. And also, so what's also come up, some of these podcasts I'm listening to is intention, right? I think that was the one that I told you about with this guy, Ed Milet. He was saying, if you might not, if
Keep
he
talking.
said you,
I'm gonna turn my camera off for a second, but I'm listening. Keep talking,
okay.
but I'm listening.
Um, he mentioned that, your confidence should match your intention.
Uh-huh.
And when you walk into a room, you should be able to, like, essentially, you should walk into any room confidently if you know that you have good intention, right? And like that confident that is your good intention should be able to guide you through any kind of speech, through any kind of presentation, through anything that you
Yeah.
do. If you let your intention guide you, it will guide your confidence. And I thought that was so powerful, because if you do have good intent, right, and you know that you are a good intent, like you have good intentions no matter what. um I just feel like it's one of those things where, that the confidence of intention, not because you're egoed out, not because you're overly, just being kind of a braggart, but if you're just really well, and you have good intentions, right, to either
Uh,
share whatever you're going to share or whatever the case may be, you have good intent, and let that be your guide. And I thought that was so powerful.
yeah. Yeah. I heard that. I actually heard that talk, and I listened for at least 6 straight months. Mainly, all I listened to was Ed Milet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so I'm a huge Ed Milet
I have
fan.
never heard of him. It's so crazy. I had never heard of him.
You know how much he's worth? He's worth like $800 million.
Unbelievable. Wow.
Yeah, $800 million.
From just
Uh,
talking,
huh?
from just talking and coaching. Is that what he does? Or
No, he became wealthy through real estate. I mean, not real
I
estate,
see.
through insurance.
Oh,
And
I see. Okay.
he,
Okay.
yeah, but but of course now it's part of has a media empire, so that also
Right.
now contributes to his $800 million. But it's true, and that's part of where we want to get as speakers, is in touch with who we are, so that we know what our intention is. And it's so true that a lot of the anxiety in speaking and in communicating really comes from um, not really knowing who we are,
Right.
not knowing what we believe, or being or afraid to name what we believe.
Right. Right.
I
Right.
mean, that's the other thing, being afraid to name what you believe also too contributes um to being a to not to having anxiety when it comes down to speaking. um
Yeah, I think that
you know
my biggest insecurity is when I'm not sure, I don't have a strong handle on the material, or if I'm just yeah, I just get it. So I'm very emotional in general, right? So um I really have to manage the emotion, whatever the emotion is. Like, so if I'm passionate about speaking about a different topic, I have a tendency to kind of like, my body is like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, well,
I can't control like that,
yeah,
urge.
a lot of it is, and we talked about this, for you in particular, you really need to set what you're going to say. Remember we talked about that?
Yes.
That you're a memorizer. And so for you, you really need that prep. You know, everybody
Right.
does in reality. Everybody does. Everybody needs that prep. But um, I would say for you, prep is massively important.
Yeah, I think that's right.
You know what I
I think
mean?
that's right. Yes.
Yeah, it's massively important because what prep is going to enable you to do is get very confident in the material. Now, without that prep, without that confidence, you're going to always, and I'm speaking from my own experience, you're going to always feel that sense of terror or the unknown, um, because you know you you know you're not on top of the material, you're not in the
Right.
material, rather, and you're not even on top of the material. You know, you're behind the material, and I can tell you what, as an actor, there's nothing like being being behind the material.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think um, I do think that that's one thing that we definitely want to work on, is the things that you need to do to really feel that you're solidly on top of the material.
Yes.
And that's one of the things I want to see if we can dive into today is what are those things, those exercises that you remember, that you have remembered that we can work with that's going to enable you to be on top of the material. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Um, so why don't do you have that material in front of you?
I do. Yes.
Yeah, can we work on that some? Um, let's start
Okay.
from the very beginning, but let's start on our feet if you don't mind, with you
All right.
standing.
Yeah. Let me get the podium. Let me just get the podium. All right. Let's see. All right. Let's see.
All right.
All right.
Let's start from the very beginning, but I want you to add in, as you're speaking this material, allow for yourself to be in this new awareness or understanding of who you are from the podcast that you've listened to. So in
Right.
other words, let that sink into the energy of what you're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I'll
Yeah,
try.
yeah. Basically, just allow yourself to also just be aware. This new discovery in your life of what the podcasts have how that has influenced you. Because as you tell this story and this event that happened in your life, um, you're not really in that state of mind anymore. Literally, even if it was just after listening to those podcasts, you're in a completely different state of mind now.
Yes. All right. Uh, so let me tell you a little. So you said that if I move my if I want to be serious, I'm still,
Yeah,
right?
yes. You can exercise some of that, but I think more importantly, and I'll help you with that. I want to just see how you execute the material. But the answer
Okay.
to is yes.
Okay. So let
Yeah.
me tell you a little bit about myself. when I was in grade school, uh, I thought I knew this stuff, and let me get stuff out.
Use your script. Do you have your script?
Yeah, I have it right here, so I'll hold it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold it. Yeah.
So let me tell you a little about myself. When I was in grade school, I knocked everything out the park. I did well in school. I was always in honors classes. I never really failed at anything. I was able to get into the number one New York City public high school at the time, Townsend Harris. Uh, I did really well on all my standardized tests. And back at home, I was, the neighborhood tomboy, right? So I was very popular. I always got picked on all the street sports teams with the fellas, whether it was two hand touch football or stickball or kickball. How many of you ever played kickball or dodgeball, right? Well, I would likely have been picked if you were in my neighborhood. I would be picked to be on your team. So I was pretty popular. Everyone knew me and everyone knew my family, and I really thought I had it all figured out. And I coasted for many, many years. Uh, Made it through high school, made it through college, no issues. And I kind of made it through law school without much issue. Now, I'm not saying that law school was easy, it was not. But as I watched my peers, whether it was Noreen or Tamara, run feverishly to the law library to study and to create these beautiful outlines. um, I feverishly ran up to them to secure those outlines that they worked so hard on. And I would do whatever it took to get those outlines. I would beg, I would plead, sometimes pay. I do what I had to do to make sure I got those outlines. And I got them. I would always get them. And those outlines helped me pass all my classes, but they also, in a certain way, made me fail. Let me explain. See, all this strategic hustling to beat the system worked out until the New York bar exam. And I wish I had some kind of like daunting music to play when I say New York bar exam, because that's, in hindsight, it was like this dun dun dun, right?
Yeah.
This music that should be played in the background.
You could, but we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't take the bar seriously. While Noreen and Roseanne studied, I partied. I had a great summer in 2002. For the first time, really ever, I wasn't in school. I had graduated. I had been in school for 21 straight years. I wasn't worried about having to go to another class. And so I partied and I vacationed. And I was fully confident that I would pass the bar because I had never failed at anything. The morning I sat for the bar exam, I was calm. Yes, there were some things I didn't know, but who's trying to get a perfect score on the bar? All you needed to do was pass. The results were released in November of 2002. And I scrolled the list of names and saw all those who passed. I see Noreen's name. I see Tamara's name. I see Josh's name. I see Roseanne's name, all in. Well, surely I passed. I took all their outlines, right? So, of course, my name would be there. But to my shock and horror, my name was not there. I was distraught. I was alone. I was in complete despair. I was embarrassed. This was a very unfamiliar feeling for me. I never experienced this feeling. This feeling was failure. And I couldn't hustle my way out of this one. This was going to take hard work. And at that point, I don't think I had any idea what hard work really was. That was it.
Okay, good, 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 good. Let's go back to the top of it. We're going to work our way through, okay?
Okay.
So let's start from the very beginning.
So let me tell you a little bit about myself. When I was in grade school,
Good, good, good.
I
So I like how you started off. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. That pause there is good. That kind of came up naturally. But you're going to continue to hit your pauses. So you say, let me tell you a little bit about myself. And then what's the next thing you say?
when I was in grade school.
Yeah. So when I was in grade school, so whenever you hit names, places, persons, numbers, you elevate it. So rather than saying when I was in grade school, you really want to hit that when I was in grade school.
Okay.
So you're going to elevate that um, in your text. When I was in grade school, and you want to elevate that so that you're pulling, because for all of us, when we hear grade school, images of our own experience come up in our mind.
Right.
So you want to hit that. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. Pause, pause, pause. When I was in grade school, pause, pause, pause. What else do you say?
I knocked everything out the park.
I knocked everything out the park.
I knocked. Okay.
Yep. You
So
don't have to do it.
slow.
Yep.
I would do it
You don't have to do it
slow.
exactly the way that I'm doing it, but I'm trying to give you an idea of a dynamic start.
Right.
Let's just do that much.
Okay. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. When I was in grade school, I knocked everything out the park.
Good, good, good. Now what you're gonna do
Now I hit the
is
thing, but I start off fourth because I hit the podium.
that's okay.
I don't want to do that, but
Yeah, that's no problem. So so you can use the triangle, right? So let me
right,
tell you a bit about myself. So basically, I kind of use the triangle kind of like a spurt. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. You see how I did that?
yes.
When
Let me
I
tell
was
you a little bit about myself, like that. Okay.
uh, when I was in grade school, I knocked everything out the park. See how I balanced up?
Ah, yes,
When I was
yes,
in school, I knocked everything out the park. Or I can say, when I was in grade school, I knocked everything out the park.
right, right. Okay,
Try that.
okay. When I was in grade, when I was in grade school, no, I'm sorry. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. When I was in grade school, I knocked everything out the park.
Yes, yes, yes. That's it.
Now that it feels very unnatural, but I guess that it doesn't look unnatural.
It looks authoritative. You don't want your talk to be pedestrian. So
Right.
sometimes natural is pedestrian, and nobody's
Ah,
coming to hear anybody be pedestrian. It's like going to a play and you got a bunch of actors that are just trying to be natural and talk natural, sound natural. Nobody wants to see that. We can
right,
see that every day in our life, right?
right, right, right.
We want to see the car wreck. That's the reason why when we're driving and there's a car wreck, there's traffic.
Rubbernecks drive me crazy. All the rubbernecks looking to see what happened. Right,
Exactly. And so that's what you're doing.
right, right,
When I was in grade school, I knocked everything out the park.
right.
Yeah. And it also gave you a sense of focus and energy too. Try that again.
Okay. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. When I was in grade school, I knocked everything out the park.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
Okay.
Yep. I think you can. I want you hit. I think there's certain words that are emphasized, right? Did we do that
Right.
work? Do you have it where you have it
We
underlined? If not, it's okay.
No,
But
no, I know that you said that I should, um,
we'll do a little bit of that now. But I know you won't be able to
okay,
do it on your phone, but you can do it in your mind too. But you definitely want to print it out when we're,
okay,
and do this work. Do this work. Print it out for next time, and we'll do this work
okay,
next time. But emphasize grade. When I was in grade school,
right,
I knocked everything out the park. So if you notice, grade every out park. Knocked is in there
right,
too. When I was, let me see.
right,
I grades knocked every out park. So when I was in grade school, I knocked everything out the park.
right. Everything out the park. Right.
Yep.
So, okay,
And
okay.
really hit those words. Really hit them hard.
Everything out the park. Okay,
Yeah.
right. Okay. All right. Wait. So I'm trying. So I'll print it so I
Yeah.
can actually
That's all right.
see.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Uh,
that'll help you. That'll help you. Don't worry about it for today, but next time we'll do that, okay?
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. All right.
Try that.
Uh, say it again.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Okay. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. When I was in grade school, I'm sorry, when I was in grade school, I knocked everything out the park.
Yeah, yeah. It's night and day
Right.
compared to what it was before. Because you have a natural way of speaking conversational,
Yes.
but you don't only want it to be conversational though,
Right.
because you're not going to draw them in.
I have a tendency to just try to be um, again, like my tendency is to play low, right? Like I am your friend. I am like you,
Uh-huh.
right? That's my I've been doing that since I was a little girl, right? I've always played low,
Yeah. There's
not
nothing
wanting
wrong
to
with that.
stand out, right? Not wanting to
Yeah.
stand out too much.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. But now you want to learn the other side.
Right. Well, yeah,
We
there's no upside in playing low. There is like,
no, don't say that because it's not that it's not that it's down to play low. It's down to not be in control of it. You
right.
should be able to choose strategically. For
Which
this
one?
situation, I'm going to play low. In other words, I'm going to lower my status.
Let me
Comedians
read
do it
this
all the
thing.
time. The only
Right.
person who doesn't give in to low status is Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle is always high status,
Right.
whereas Chris Rock fluctuates. But a lot of times, Chris Rock is completely low status. He completely is telling you, "Hey, I'm just like you. Hey, everything is all good. Hey, this happens." But Dave Chappelle really works pauses and makes you listen for the joke.
Oh yeah, and everyone, and we're all sitting there with bated breath, like,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
But with Chris Rock and most of the other comedians, they use low status to their advantage. So don't put down your ability to do what you just mentioned, but now you want to learn the other side to it.
right, right,
And and I'm glad I'm recording this because the energy and focus and confidence in your body when you do this technique is night and day. And it's where I think you should be because when you come into the room, people already look at you, but they're going to notice you. When we were at the coffee shop, you probably didn't feel this, but you had the highest status in the room.
I don't understand.
When you were in the coffee shop,
Yeah.
when you stood up and spoke, people looked up and wanted to know who was speaking.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. And the guy's respect for you, he respected everybody, but he had a very distinct respect for you because you carry yourself respectfully. So my point is when you step on the stage, people are expecting you to hold that room because you're already holding that room. You have it's just
But that's the
naturally in you.
pressure. That's the pressure, Dre. It's like that's the pressure is, oh shit.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's but we gotta we gotta get you comfortable to live in that though. And
right,
the only way you're gonna feel comfortable living in it is this work,
right.
the work that
I
we're
think,
doing.
yeah, it's interesting because I think that like one of my favorite lines in a movie is in Devil's Advocate when they say, "Never let him see you coming." Right,
Oh,
never let
uh-huh.
him see you coming. Right, I like that spoke to me in a way, in so many ways, just because I think that I've always been like the girl in a lot of male dominated businesses and environments.
Yeah.
And people always think that you're a girl, right? And I'm not saying obviously social codes. I'm not trying to, obviously speak bad about women, but people treat you like a girl, right?
Yeah.
And so I always loved like that whole line. I guess people think that you're gonna act like a girl, whatever they think that is, and then
Hmm.
you just, but you think I am who I am. Yes, I am a female, right? I am a girl. I'm a woman. I love being a woman, but at the same time, I love the fact that you never see me coming. So I think that this is a kind of count. Like if I think about that being my favorite line, right?
Uh-huh.
Now it's like you have this huge expectation of me, and I don't want to be in that. I don't want to be in that space. I'd rather be in the space where there is no expectation, and then I wow you, as opposed to like now your expectation is here, and I'm
Uh-huh.
like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. 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 Well, the the places where I believe you want to go, and it's the fear of failure, the fear of success. The fear of success is just what you said. Have you heard if you heard the term that you're not afraid of failure, you're afraid of success.
yes,
Because I'm sitting down, if I were to accidentally somehow trip and fall on the ground,
yeah,
it ain't gonna hurt.
right,
I'm
right,
very close to the ground.
right, right,
But if I climb high
right,
and I fall to the ground, I could break something.
right, right,
And so, but here's the thing, when you build up to be at a certain height, you've created for yourself uh, safety measures that if you do the safety measures,
right,
you'll be fine up there.
right.
And if for whatever reason you fall and break something, well, you'll just, get a cast, it'll heal, and then you'll climb
And you
back
move
up.
on, right? And who cares? And
Yeah.
like, and then who are the people that are judging it, right? Who are they? Like, who cares, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
um,
And so my point though is the work that we're doing is your safety measure for this particular skill set. Right
right,
now, if you know in your mind, if I underline, emphasize the word, if I say the word like how it is, and if I put energy behind it and I work the pauses in the triangle, if you just did that, you have a dynamic talk. If you
right,
really just practice that over and over again, then you know that you have some skills that's going to engage the audience.
right. I'm excited.
Oh,
I'm
good.
excited about. I'm excited about the possibilities. I'm excited about overcoming them. Um, I'm terrified, but I'm
Yeah,
excited.
that's good. Being terrified about this is good because if you weren't, then you would have to be questioning yourself.
Right.
Should I be doing this? Is this going to do me any
Yeah.
good?
No. What's great is that that hasn't crossed my mind at all. So,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I can tell you, I can see this really. you know, different students of mine need different things. For you, this is it. You
Right.
need the specific,
Yes.
and you're gonna have to work harder for yours. But that is the discipline that's gonna help you soar beyond people who do it naturally.
And it'll still look natural, right?
Oh
Even
yeah,
though it's
absolutely.
gonna feel a little bit rehearsed.
It's gonna feel rehearsed. But part of what you want to do with your talking is the same what we have to do as actors. You can't be looking at me on the screen saying, seeing me act.
Right.
If you catch me acting, I'm not doing my job.
Right.
That means I have to have worked it so much. It's so in me. The character is so me that I'm the character that you suddenly believe that I'm the asshole that I'm playing. So that when we meet and I'm like, hey, Joy, you're like,
Yeah, like you're crazy.
right, exactly. Like,
Right,
no,
right,
no, no,
right.
no. It's like when I do Malcolm X, everybody, I get these inquiries of being a black nationalist.
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right.
It's like I'm an actor.
Yeah,
If I
yeah,
do
like
King, now, nonprofits are wanting me to be a part of whatever, nonviolent or
right,
diversity or whatever. And it's
right,
like,
right.
no, if
And
you
you're
hit
like,
me in
no, I'm
my
just
cheek, I'm going to
playing.
break your jaw.
Yeah. I
I'm an
absolutely,
actor,
yeah, 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 yeah,
you
yeah. I'm
know?
not that. Right,
Yeah. When I do Frederick Douglass, people think that I'm talking about my own family sometimes.
right.
And then when they find out I'm an actor, then they wonder if I'm related to Frederick Douglass.
Oh, I love it.
It's like, no, I'm an actor,
Right. I love it.
you know? So my point in saying that is what I have to say to people that are naturals with this. What they do? Brandis does this. I gotta stay on Brandis about it. Brandis is so natural.
Right.
She goes off the top and said, Brandis, you can't do that to me. You can't call me the day before about
Right.
a huge event you have tomorrow morning.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
That's not how we can't do it like that.
Right,
You
right,
got to do the work. If you're an improvisationalist, which she is, you still got to practice the improv.
right.
If you're a memorizer, you got to memorize, but in such a way that people don't know that you're memorized. They think you're just going off the top of your head. If you're an outliner, you've got to be able to do both, but you got to practice it.
Right.
So, so to answer your question, it's unnatural. It's unnatural until you make it natural. This is where you can put into play. They won't see me coming because they're going to feel that impact. And what they're going to say is, man, Joy, she really is a great speaker. That's all they know. They have no idea about your coaching that I'm giving you. They have no idea about the hours of rehearsal. They have no idea about how many times you went over it. They have no idea you're thinking about the triangle and you've underlined words and you've emphasized and you've inflected and you've told stories and you've worked the 15 beats in storytelling and that you've worked the hero's journey and that you worked the 5 elements of dialogue. They won't know any of that stuff.
Right.
Neither do they care.
Right. Right.
All they care
They-
about is being moved by you.
Right. Right.
But you got to do that work for them to be moved by you.
Right. Right.
And
All
that's what
right.
yeah.
Well, I'm in. I'm in.
Okay.
I'm in.
Okay. Great. So
Okay.
what I want you to
Do
do,
you mind if I read my little tell me about yourself thing?
yeah, go ahead.
I know we have a lot of work. I know we're over time, but I just really quickly I wanted to see what you thought.
I give you an extra half hour free that you could use it, whenever you want.
Okay, yeah, I won't use the full half, but just
Okay. Yeah.
I started my career as a music attorney. I practiced for 5 years before being recruited to manage content development at a music publishing company. While corporate helped me fully understand the music industry landscape, I missed having direct contact with talent and end users. I went on to become a sports agent with the NBA to use some of my music attorney skill set in the sports space. I enjoyed my experience with Six Sports, but wanted to have my own company. I decided to start a staffing agency and have owned and operated Next Step Staffing since 2012. I also own a podcast studio where my passion for storytelling is freely pursued. While I work in many different industries, while I have worked in many different industries, I have always been guided by a desire to help others and offer solutions. Those pursuits have been the common thread in all of my professional endeavors.
Great, great. I think that's great. So I want you to
That's a
try
good start. There.
how you
Okay.
can play. Read the last part of it. Read the last part of it real quick.
While I've worked in many different industries, I've always been guided by a desire to help others and offer solutions. Those pursuits have been the common thread in all of my professional endeavors.
Yeah, and so it would be fun if you tried to make that grammar wise, if you were able to say, I've done many different professions, but the one common thing is that in each profession, however you say it, each profession, I love to serve. I've done this, and you go back to the beginning, and then list
I
off.
see.
Yep. Let me show you. Just try that, and just start from the end and go to the beginning. See how that feels. Try it.
Okay. Uh, while I've worked in while I've worked in many different industries, I've always been guided by a desire to serve and offer solutions. Though all of my pursuits have been the common thread. I'm sorry. Um, anyway, so maybe I'll just do that. While I've worked in many different industries, I've always been guided by a desire to serve others and offer solutions. And those pursuits have led that pursuit has led me in many different directions. I started my career as a music attorney. I practiced for 5 years before being recruited to manage content development at a music publisher. My corporate helped me fully understand the music industry landscape, I missed having direct contact with talent and end users. So I went on to become a sports agent with the NBA to use some of my music industry skill set in the sports space. I also enjoyed my experience. I'm sorry. I enjoyed my experience at Six Sports, but wanted to have my own company. I then decided to start a staffing agency. So I've owned and operated Next Step Staffing since 2012. I also own a podcast studio where my passion for storytelling is really pursued. I think the podcast studio thing is hard to pull in, but
That's that could be good. Which is the way you just did it there. That was kind of cool,
right.
actually.
No, it feels better because it's like you're basically giving the summary first
Yeah,
and then going in.
yeah. Going into it made it more interesting to hear when you when you name um even though I've done X, Y, Z, and Z, and then you say it's a common thread and it gives me really cert. I'm thinking, well, what are those things?
Right, right. How have I kind of threaded it all together, right?
Yeah, yeah. Here's another thing that you can do. Look at your content and see what's the midpoint in your content. What's the midpoint?
Maybe if we're putting the end in the beginning, then likely around the sports agency.
Actually, don't leave the end out. Just everything else. What's the midpoint?
Uh, I mean, I guess I would say, well, I think it's still kind of the sports agency.
Okay. So what I want you to do now is I want you to start from the beginning. And when you get to the before you get to the sports agency, go to the end and pull it in. So in other words, well, I started to do this and I did this in corporate and I did this and that and that and I did this and this. Oh, by the way, everything that I've done has been XYZ and it's pulled together, but it's always given me the ability to serve. So I also did.
Okay.
Try that.
Okay, so I started my career as a music attorney. I practiced for 5 years before being recruited to manage content development at a music publisher. While corporate helped me fully understand the music industry landscape, I missed having direct contact with talent and end users. And so ultimately, what I realized is that while I worked in many different industries, I've always been guided by a desire to help others and offer solutions to others. And so then, in that same vein, I went on to become a sports agent with the NBA to utilize some of the skill set that I took on as a music attorney, and also have that direct contact with the athletes. And I enjoyed my experience as a sports agent, but I really think I wanted to be an owner. I wanted to be an entrepreneur and own my own company. And so I started a staffing agency, Next Step Staffing, and I've owned and operated that company since 2012. I also own a podcast studio where my passion for storytelling is fully pursued as well.
Yeah, that was great too. So you can play with it like that.
Right, right.
You can make a decision to start from the end and then go through it, or you can start from the beginning and then in the middle pull it in. Oh, by the way, and you let them know all these things connect. But ultimately, I love to serve, and so I went on to you can do that.
It's fascinating. Okay, I'm excited about this too. I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Maybe I'll actually be able to hear that question and not completely like say, well, I'm a Pisces and I'm from
yeah.
Queens,
Well,
right?
well, what you should do, what I'd like for you to do, is memorize it, and then once you've memorized it, play with it. Play with it. If you're washing dishes, play with it. If you're cleaning, play with it. You're driving, play with it, but just don't lose focus of the road.
Right, right, right.
Actually,
No,
don't play with it when you're driving. Don't, not in New Jersey, not from what I've
yeah,
heard.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's crazy, right? I know.
Yeah, yeah, on
Yeah.
22 or whatever. But anyway, um, uh, but play with it. And the
Okay.
more, and then don't wait for somebody to say, so tell me about yourself. Play with it when you're just out and about talking to people, when you're talking to your friends or people that don't know, just start saying it. You
I
get in
love it.
conversation and then you hear that one moment where you can come in where you know that there's some interest. I used to do this and this and this. I used to do that. Oh, by the way, blah blah blah. Everything that I've done is always connected because I love to serve. And then I was a sports agent, yada 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 yada. You know what I mean? Do it that
Right.
way,
And it
or
feels more
however you're gonna do
comfortable
it.
to be able to say it like that because you're actually saying, you know, like I'm always guided by my desire to serve. That's my true north. My true north
Yes,
is to serve and help others. Right.
yes, yeah, mm-hmm,
Right. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
All right.
All right,
Perfect. All right. I love
okay,
it. Thank you so much for
great.
everything. I feel
Yeah,
so
you're
much
you're
better.
you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.